Hey, welcome back to Just a Dude podcast. I'm your host, Nathan, and today we're going to dive into Articles 3 through 4 of the Real American History and Law with the U.S. Constitution. Yeah, I know, sounds like it could be a snooze fest, but trust me, it's more interesting than you think. So let's get into it. All right, let's start with Article 3, Section 1. It says, "The judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court, and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. The judges, both of the Supreme and inferior courts, shall hold their offices during good behavior, and shall, at stated times, receive for their services a compensation which shall not be diminished during their continuance in office." So, what's this mean? It's basically saying all judicial power in the U.S. is in the hands of the Supreme Court and other lower courts that Congress decides to set up. And get this, judges can keep their jobs as long as they behave well, and their pay can't be cut either while they're in office. That's some job security, right? Wish we had that. So let's move on to Section 2. This part tells us what kind of cases the federal courts can handle. The section reads, "The judicial power shall extend to all cases in law and equity arising under the Constitution, the laws of the United States, and treaties made, or which shall be made, under their authority. To all cases affecting ambassadors, other public ministers and consuls, to all cases of admiralty and maritime jurisdiction, to controversies to which the United States shall be a party, to controversies between two or more states, between a state and citizens of another state, between citizens of different states, between citizens of the same state claiming lands under grants of different states, and between a state or the citizens thereof and foreign states, citizens, or subjects. In all cases affecting ambassadors, other public ministers and consuls, and those in which a state shall be party, the Supreme Court shall have original jurisdiction. In all the other cases before mentioned, the Supreme Court shall have appellate jurisdiction, both as to law and fact, with such exceptions and under such regulations as the Congress shall make. The trial of all crimes, except in cases of impeachment, shall be by jury, and such trial shall be held in the state where the said crimes shall have been committed. But when not committed within any state, the trial shall be at such a place or places as the Congress may by law have directed." Here we're talking cases under the Constitution, federal laws, treaties, stuff with ambassadors or maritime issues, disputes between states or between citizens of different states. And here's a key point. The Supreme Court has the first say in cases involving ambassadors or when a state is involved, but for everything else, they review appeals. Also, most crimes need to be tried where they happened, but Congress gets to decide where if it's not within any state. Now, Section 3 gets real specific about treason. The text says, "Treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against them, or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. No person shall be convicted of treason unless on the testimony of two witnesses to the same overt act, or on confession in open court. The Congress shall have power to declare the punishment of treason, but no attainder of treason shall work corruption of blood or forfeiture except during the life of the person attainted." It defines it as either waging war against the U.S. or helping its enemies, but you can't just throw that label around. You need two witnesses to the same act or a confession in court, and Congress decides the punishment, but they can't go all medieval with corruption of blood or property forfeiture beyond the traitor's lifetime. That's pretty progressive for back then, don't you think? All right, let's switch gears to Article 4, Section 1. Here's what it says. "Full faith and credit shall be given in each state to the public acts, records, and judicial proceedings of every other state. And the Congress may by general laws prescribe the manner in which such acts, records, and proceedings shall be proved, and the effect thereof." So what does this mean for us? Basically, if you get married in Vegas, your marriage is valid in Vermont. If you have her driver's license from Texas, it's good in Maine. It's all about ensuring that states respect each other's legal decisions, which is crucial for natural cohesion. But think about it. What happens when states have very different laws on the same issue? The biggest amendment that comes up for me? The Second Amendment, what do you think? It's different in almost every state. Now let's move on to Section 2. The citizens of each state shall be entitled to all privileges and immunities of citizens in the several states. This part ensures that if you move from one state to another, you don't lose your rights as a citizen. But there's more. Listen to this. Section 2 continues. A person charged in any state with treason, felony, or other crime who shall flee from justice and be found in another state shall on demand of the executive authority of the state from which he fled be delivered up, to be removed to the state having jurisdiction of the crime. It's kind of like the old you can run but you can't hide deal. But the real kicker here was this third paragraph. No person held to service or labor in one state under the laws thereof, escaping into another, shall in consequence of any law or regulation therein be discharged from such service or labor, but shall be delivered up on claim of the party to whom such service or labor may be due. This part was originally about slavery, which is thankfully no longer in practice, but it shows how our Constitution has evolved with our society. It's a reminder of where we've been and how far we've come. Now, Section 3. New states may be admitted by the Congress into this Union, but no new state shall be formed or erected within the jurisdiction of any other state, nor any state be formed by the jurisdiction of two or more states or parts of states without the consent of the legislatures of the states concerned as well as of the Congress. This section is about growth and change. It outlines how we add new states, which has happened several times throughout our history. And then there's this. The Congress shall have power to dispose of and make all needful rules and regulations respecting the territory or other property belonging to the United States. And nothing in this Constitution shall be so construed as to prejudice any claims of the United States or any of the particular state. Claims of the United States or of any particular state. Congress gets to manage our national lands and properties, which can lead to some interesting debates today, especially with issues like federal land use or environmental regulations. Finally, we get to Section 4 of Article 4. The United States shall guarantee to every state in this Union a republican form of government, and shall protect each of them against invasion, and on application of the legislature or of the executive, when the legislature cannot be convened, against domestic violence. This one's about stability and security. The federal government promises every state a republican form of government, which is not just about elections, but about how power is structured. Plus, the U.S. steps in to protect states from invasion or internal violence. But think about this. What does domestic violence mean in today's context? We're not talking about physical violence here. So why should we care about this old document? Well, think about how these rules shape our legal system today. The independence of judges, the jurisdiction of courts, and how we define and handle treason. These aren't just dry texts. They're framework for our legal battles, from big Supreme Court decisions to smaller cases in our local courthouses. For example, when you hear about a case going to the Supreme Court, remember, this is what gives them that power. Or when there's a big debate over what constitutes treason in modern times, like with cyber warfare or financial aid to foreign entities, this section is the benchmark and lays down the foundation. And let's not forget the idea of a jury trial, ensuring local justice, all that comes from here too. It's like the Constitution says, hey, we trust you, the people, to judge your peers, but let's keep it in your community where you understand the context. Additionally, Article 4 isn't just a bunch of old words. It's a living document that shapes how states and federal government interact, ensuring unity while respecting diversity. It's fascinating how these principles still resonate today, even as we debate what they mean in our modern world. So there you have it, folks. Article 3 isn't just legal jargon, and Article 4 shows states' rights. These articles are cornerstones of how justice is administered in the U.S. and the rights that are afforded to individual states. I want to thank you for tuning in to Just a Dude podcast. If you like this deep dive into the Constitution, let me know. Maybe we'll do more of these. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep being you. God bless, and we'll see you next time.